CTV News with Angela Mackenzie.
Good evening and welcome to this half-hour newscast on CJD 800 and ctvnewsmontreal.ca. There are cuts coming to the STM. The transit agency has unveiled its budget for 2026. Around 300 jobs will be cut in an effort to reduce operating costs. Some construction projects are also being put on the back burner, and a plan to fully electrify the bus fleet is being delayed. Anastasia Dextrine reports.
It's been a tough ride at the STM, and it's getting tougher.
We're talking about $15 billion to avoid what we had like last year when 3 metro stations were shut down.
The Montreal Public Transit Agency released its budget on Friday, but the $1.8 billion announced for 2026 includes a plan to cut the budget over 3 years instead of the initial goal of 5.
For us, it's a time bomb budget.
Philippe Jacques is from Trajectoire Québec. As an advocate for public transit users, he's worried that the cutbacks could undermine convenience and safety. Adjusting maintenance frequency, extending the use of parts, and freezing overtime for operations teams are but some of the measures the STM will implement to help save funds. And the concern among riders is echoing around the city.
We don't have a car, and we use public transportation all the time, and obviously the state of the infrastructure makes everyone a little bit worried.
I assume that there's going to be people looking out for maintenance and doing regular checkups to make sure everything is in order.
If they're using pads for longer, then I'm expecting maybe there'll be more breakdowns.
If there's another method they could use, find that method,
The agency also plans to delay the rollout of electric buses and cut 300 jobs. But Trajectoire Québec is calling on the government to be proactive and to loosen its belt to prevent more transit shutdowns.
The new mayor just said she wants to increase the frequency of the metro. We don't see any money, any budget for that.
The organization hopes officials will hear their cry as the City of Montreal prepares to release its budget on Monday. Anastasia Dextrine, CTV News.
Plans to revitalize the Van Horn warehouse are once again being discussed. It seems people in the area want to see it transformed, but aren't interested in a hotel. Christine Long has more.
Nestled alongside rail lines and in between Park Avenue and Saint Laurent Boulevard, the Van Horn warehouse has been part of this neighborhood since 1924.
These are various spots.
In December, Montreal's Public Consultation Office published the results from their second public consultation in 3 years. The plan to create blended spaces for artist studios and local shops was well received. Yet, the addition of 120 hotel rooms, less so. Dino Bumbaro of Heritage Montreal says the city should act quickly.
Beyond the good idea of having an artist workshop being installed in that place, in the future, what is the guarantee that this will actually happen and not serve as the nice teaser to lure people into a development that would be much more boring?
He adds that a renewal of this building could boost the entire area.
This project is going to reconnect with the neighborhood, the way the cultural component and the heritage component are going to benefit from guarantee, not just vague intents.
The public consultations showed less enthusiasm for a hotel on this site, something some people on the street echoed.
Maybe more affordable housing, more than a hotel. Yeah.
Hopefully housing of some sort for some people, because I know they really need it. In terms of a hotel, honestly, there probably is the demand for a hotel because it's the Mile End. People come to visit here from all over Canada.
Bumbaro says the new mayor of Montreal could help make it happen.
Provide some innovative solution like these community land trust options that are now available through the civil code and so on. And I think this is a great opportunity for the new administration to activate solutions.
Bumbaro adds the Van Horn warehouse should be awarded heritage status to ensure it's protected. Some residents we spoke to agreed the building shouldn't be left empty any longer.
I'm not too picky about what it is used for, just that it is used.
Covered in graffiti with boarded windows, the warehouse is in waiting while the residents hope for a plan that will benefit the whole neighborhood. Christine Long, CTV News.
Longueuil police are looking for a suspect after a woman in her 40s was assaulted on Place Charlemagne Street. It happened at 8:30 this morning near the Longueuil metro station. The woman was injured, but her life is not in danger. Police say the suspect is in his 30s and left the scene on foot. Well, Quebec has put out a call for type O negative and B negative blood donations. It says the blood bank is well stocked. However, there has been a decline in those blood types. Type O negative is the universal donor, meaning it is the type that will always be used when someone is brought to the hospital in an emergency. Donors need to be over 18 and in good health to donate blood. Quebec says less than 3% of Quebecers donate. A new study found Francophones and Anglophones look at the future of French in the province through very different lenses, which could ultimately affect minority rights, especially when it comes to education. Joining me now is Raphael Gagné, the study's co-author. He's also an assistant professor in the Faculty of Education at Université Laval. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Raphael, this study was based on a Léger survey that was conducted in April. 72% of Francophones say French is in danger. 70% of Anglophones disagree. What do you make of this divide?
It is a known divide, especially among Francophones. Since the Bonjour I controversy, surveys after survey, it's been shown that especially among Francophones, the level of what I call linguistic angst, so the capacity of Québécois to project themselves as in the future, has been felt threatened. So what I make out of that is I've analyzed the way the CAQ government has actually talked about and to a certain extent fuel that angst, and especially in the context of bills in education that went against some of the rights of the English-speaking community. And my question was, what's the links between the two? What's the links between a majority group who feel threatened about their future, that feel they might disappear, that their language might disappear, and the support for the rights of English speaker? Obviously, on the sides of Anglophone, I think it's quite obvious that they might feel that everywhere they go, they have to speak French, so they not necessarily feel that French or Francophone are threatened.
Right, and you mentioned education, a lot of those bills that are linked to education. You also, in the survey, looked at that. So the right to education and English, it shifts quite a bit depending on whether you're talking about the right to education versus controlling education. Can you explain what you found there?
Yeah, so the context of the government of the CAQ has shifted in terms of English-speaking education. So a lot of cases in the last 20 years have involved access to school, who can access to school. But nowadays, it's more about control. Can English school board can hire the kind of teacher they want? Can they control and have autonomy over what is going on in the school? And can they speak in English with the government? So that's just 3 bills that the government of the CAQ has put and trying to infringe on these types of rights. What I've made out of that is over the course of the last couple of years, the support for these control of education among Anglophone is quite lower in the population than the support for access. So just to give you an example, in my survey, about 65% of people agree that and support that English speakers should have access to school. But the percentage lower, up to 50%, when you ask them, should English speaker control their own school board? And even if it's going even lower when you talk about should that control and access involve state-funded money. So you see that the abstract notion amongst Québécois that English speaker can have access to school is quite understood and supported. But once it goes down to control of education, it's quite slower. And just a final statistic, especially among Francophone, around 17% will support a political party that actually protects English-speaking rights in education. So we see that there's an ambivalence here, and that's what I've tried to understand with the concept of linguistic angst.
What are some of the potential implications of that waning support, especially when it comes to control of the education systems in English communities?
One of the implications is we have to actually understand as a researcher what is that support came from and why is it low. And linguistic angst is the capacity of people to project themselves in the future, especially in terms of language. So we see that systematically in the survey, those who feel that French is in danger and that the vitality of Francophone group is in danger and that English language is not part of Quebec identity, they systematically know less about Anglophone rights in education. They support less about these rights, and they're less willing to concede that these rights are legitimate in some. So quite the implication is I see a fertile place for the CAQ to go on with these bills. I'm talking here Bill 21 on laïcité, Bill 40 on the control of education, Bill 96 on the language of communication with the states. So if we have a population, some of them voting for the CAQs that are actually fearful about the future, these people might be more willing to accept some infringement on the control of English speakers. So I see that in the discourse of the CAQ, where they usually talk about English education in link with the fear that French is in danger.
All right, that's so interesting. Thank you so much, Raphael Gagny, for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Someone was attacked during a home invasion this morning in Saint-Constant in the Montérégie. Police say 3 men broke down the door of a home on Lacto Street and attacked a man inside. The victim was brought to hospital with head injuries. 3 suspects have been arrested. Well, protests in multiple major U.S. cities continue as anger grows over the fatal shooting of a woman in Minneapolis by an ICE agent. It comes as a new video from the perspective of the agent surfaces. Armando Garcia reports.
Fight for right! Fight for good!
Tonight, protests across the country after the deadly shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent in Minneapolis.
ICE must go now!
From just outside the White House today,
Say her name! Renee Good!
to a march to City Hall in Philadelphia, to a huge crowd gathered in a snow-covered park in the city where it happened.
And thousands of people are pouring in, literally sliding down this hill to protest ICE as demonstrations break out across the country.
Many of the protests fueled by the latest video of Renee Good's final moments captured on the cell phone camera of ICE agent Jonathan Ross, accused of killing her.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
You can see his masked face in the vehicle's reflection as he circles her maroon SUV. Good's partner Becca also recording as he checks the license plate.
It's okay, we don't change our plates every morning.
Then another agent yelling at Good to get out of the vehicle.
Okay.
Agent Ross moving to the front of the SUV as it moves forward.
This is an out-of-control Trump's ICE.
3 House members from Minnesota claimed they were asked to leave a federal building in Minneapolis today after they requested an oversight visit to the ICE detention center there.
The explanation that we got was, yes, the law is on your side, but we don't care, and we are not going to allow you to fulfill your oversight duties.
The Trump administration standing by the actions of ICE and the agent involved in the fatal shooting.
We will always be protecting ICE, and we're always going to be protecting our Border Patrol and our law enforcement.
As protesters across the country take a stand against ICE. Armando Garcia, ABC News, Minneapolis.
Montrealers filled the streets downtown today to protest the crackdown on anti-government protests in Iran. Hundreds of people in 2 separate events marched along St. Catherine Street. One group met at the corner of Atwater Street, waving Iranian flags. The second group met at Phillips Square and was organized by the collective Femmes Vie Liberté. Meantime, Iran's Attorney General issued a warning. Anyone taking part in demonstrations in Iran will be considered, quote, enemy of God, a death penalty charge. This comes as an internet blackout continues across the nation. The protests began nearly 2 weeks ago in Tehran over rampant inflation. Public frustration then turned to general protests against the regime. Rights groups say dozens of people have been killed. U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to attack if security forces respond with force. Turning to the weather now. It's currently 0 degrees in Montreal, and there is a snowfall warning in effect. Around 15 centimeters of snow is expected to fall tonight, so be careful on the roads. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and cloud expected. Temperatures will slowly dip down to -1 degree with scattered flurries possible afternoon and evening. And for the rest of the week, things could warm up to 5 on Wednesday, but temperatures will drop quite a bit by the end of the week.
What's on Montreal? Brought to you by Tanguay, your comfort zone.
There's concerts, comedy, and more if you're looking for things to do. Join the Philharmonic Orchestra for a musical journey. The Lord of the Rings score is performed live alongside the movie from Friday to Sunday at Place des Arts. You can also choose from a selection of candlelight concerts. Enjoy covers of Adele, The Weeknd, Coldplay, and more. That's at various locations around the city until Sunday. Egyptian and Natana hit Olympia on Saturday for a reggae performance as part of Lovers Rock. Get general admission tickets starting at $84.23. And for some comic relief, head to the Comedy Nest. Farah Sataya from Just for Laughs takes the stage Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. And it's your last chance to catch Festa Lumi. The experience features an outdoor walking trail full of immersive lights and sounds at Marché Central from Friday to Sunday. There's fun for all this weekend. For What's on Montreal, I'm Anastasia Dextrine.
The U.S. shift in vaccine policy this week is having a ripple effect in Canada after the Centers for Disease Control announced it will no longer recommend certain vaccines for children. Canadian doctors say that will fuel vaccine hesitancy. Kamal Karamali reports.
Canadian physicians concerned that the U.S. scaling back on the number of vaccines it recommends for children will increase vaccine hesitancy here in Canada.
So we always worry about vaccine hesitancy, and because we're so closely tied to the U.S., information is shared freely, people can travel freely. Anytime something happens where the rate of getting a vaccine in people goes down, it could result in more cases, obviously, in both countries.
Earlier this week, the U.S. Center for Disease Control said it's cutting the number of vaccines it universally recommends for all children from 17 now down to 11, no longer recommending protection against COVID-19, hepatitis A and B, influenza, rotavirus, RSV, and meningococcal disease. There's also worry among healthcare professionals that some of these diseases will now spread at an increased rate across the border into Canada, straining an already overburdened healthcare system.
This is still a heavily traveled border. We still have people coming from the United States, and we still have Canadians going to the United States, going into areas where there's not as much immunization as there should be, and there's not enough herd immunization. So I wouldn't call it a possibility. I would say it is definitely going to happen. We're going to see uptakes of these diseases.
Health Canada says even though U.S. policies don't affect Canada's decisions on vaccines, there is a need for more targeted interventions to increase childhood vaccine series completions in Canada. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
A research team at McGill University has found a way to make the stressful process of in vitro fertilization less painful. It involves an automated delivery system that uses a light-activated microneedle. Researcher Vivian Tam says currently women enrolling in IVF are sent home with needles they have to self-inject in their stomach or thigh at a very specific time daily for a 2-week period. It can be painful and sometimes stressful. Tam hopes this new technology will improve the experience for women.
So my team and I worked on a patch, which is about the size of the tip of your thumb, and it's made up of multiple needles that are very, very small. So when you push it into your skin, it's painless. And in the patch are nanoparticles that are light activated. So when you turn on a near-infrared laser, the nanoparticles respond to release the drug, in this case an IVF hormone, and it makes the whole process painless and automated so that for IVF patients, they can have a much less painful and stressful experience.
She says the technology could eventually be applied to other medications for diseases such as Crohn's and diabetes. Time now for your In Case You Missed It. A home in Trois-Rivières has been renamed the Ice Castle, and for all the wrong reasons. A tenant turned off the heat and left. The water pipes burst, flooding the apartment and leaving a thick layer of ice everywhere. Geneviève Beauchemin reports.
Much of this two-story apartment is now locked in ice, frozen in time. Some of the scattered frozen piles look like chiseled ice sculptures, but these were shaped by misfortune. This is an extreme case, says owner Jacques No. The tenant left on vacation and probably wanted to save money on electricity. We know everything is more expensive these days, and he turned off the heat. Now, the owner isn't quite sure when this happened, but the pipes froze, the toilet cracked, and liters of water flowed out and froze in this cold winter. Ice-encased appliances, and it's about 30 centimeters thick on the kitchen floor. This ice castle, as neighbors call it, isn't quite as palatial as Edmonton's, built for fun with its caverns and archways. And it's not exactly as magical as Elsa's castle in Disney's Frozen.
Whoa! Now that's ice. I might cry.
The owner here too might have cried, but is busy tending heaters to melt the ice.
Malheureusement.
That was an icicle falling off the ceiling. Once the ice is melted, the unit will have to be stripped and rebuilt to be a cozy, warm home once again. The tenant hasn't paid his rent in over 6 months and has now been evicted. The apartment owner says this is a good reminder to us all not to turn the temperature all the way down to keep our homes safe and warm. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
The Canadian women's hockey team has been named and includes 5 players from the Montreal Victoire. Victoire captain Marie-Philippe Pelaine will be the Canadian team's captain. She'll be joined by goalie Anne-Renée Desbiens, as well as the Victoire's Laura Stacey, Erin Ambrose, and Cathy Tabin. Poulin was asked about pressure for veteran members who may have one last chance to play together at the Olympics.
There is pressure right there, but I think on all of us. I think individually we all put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We want to bring back that goal. That's our goal. That's our mission. And I think bring back that veteran group, that experienced group with some of the new faces. It's going to be great.
Quebec Moguls legend Michael Kingsbury has done it.
85-83 pour Michael Kingsbury qui prend le premier rang.
Kingsbury claimed his 100th career victory in Val-Saint-Côme Friday night in front of family and friends. The win makes the de Montagne native the first freestyle skier to reach 100 victories on the World Cup circuit. Kingsbury had been recovering from a groin injury, but says he's now almost at full health and ready for the Olympics. A New Yorker lost her rent money, and then strangers came to help. Here's Danny New.
As we see in Midnight Cowboy, New Yorkers may not always have the reputation for being neighborly.
There are nice things happening around communities, especially Inwood. Inwood is a very tight community.
But then you hear stories like J.J. Cirillo's here out of New York's Inwood neighborhood after she experienced a mishap any of us could have.
I was like, oh my God, my money's missing. So I'm like freaking out. Almost have a panic attack.
About a week ago, JJ returned home from this bagel shop and realized she was missing the $300 in cash she was planning to use toward rent.
So I call them and I'm like, did you happen to find $300?
The manager said she couldn't find it. JJ went back to the store and couldn't find it. So she took a, quote, very long shot and posted to the neighborhood Facebook page.
I was like, this is crazy. This will never happen.
However, even though JJ only asked if anyone happened to see the $300, a man named Drew commented that if others joined him, he would Venmo her $10. Quickly, others pledged to join.
Like within 24 hours, I got the $300.
Immediately, JJ got back on Facebook to thank everyone, calling it a, quote, win-win. And by the way, this is not the first example of New Yorkers daring to be communal in the past year.
If anybody knows somebody from Syosset.
In May, I brought you the story of a man finding a young woman's diaries and high school diploma on the street.
Nice to meet you. You're a good man.
And using the power of social media to eventually track down her father and return them to the family. I think he and JJ experienced similar emotions after these online acts of kindness.
I was so humbled by it. You know, the fact that complete strangers got together, just to do that.
In New York, for ABC News, I'm Danny New.
Well, that's it for us. Thanks for watching and listening. Have a good evening, everyone. Take care.